Hello everyone, welcome to Intellipaat's live webinar on how Python helps in building an IT career. So today's webinar will be conducted by Mr. Shivam, who has 12 years of IT experience. He started as an ERP consultant and has been seasoned data scientist for the last 11 years, having worked with McKinsey and other Fortune highly ranked MNCs. He is currently working as an ML advisor for one of the leading firms in the world. He has been teaching and mentoring budding data scientists all over the world for last 10 years. So guys, let's welcome Mr. Shivam into the session. Sir, over to you.
Hey, thank you so much for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on how Python helps in building the IT career. Before we start about this session, right, I want to set some expectations that after, let's say, once you complete this session, right, what are the things that you would understand? There will be certain myth busters for you, right? Some misconceptions that people generally have before coming to IT. Those will be clear, right? And also in the meanwhile, if you have any doubt, right, do not hesitate. The chat option is available. Uh, Frankly, go in and type your questions. As soon as I see the questions, right, I'll try to answer them. Coming back to the agenda, right, the agenda is very simple. It's simple, right, that why, what, and how can I build a career in IT using Python, right? So why, what, and how using that thing. I know most of you know certain things about IT or Python, right? Some or the other things, because that's why you are here in this session, right? Because you know something or other. But we will make this a holistic picture around that how you can jumpstart your career in IT. Now, before we talk about Python and how it does all these things, right? First of all, let me give you a very, this is the agenda from the pages, right? Introduction, concepts, prerequisites, and how Python is going to help you. And then later we'll have a question and answer session also. But before even we deep dive into Python and we talk about that, right? What is IT, first of all? Let's clear that thing, right? Because I am assuming most of you are from non-IT background, right? Let's talk about that. What is actually IT, right? And what is the day-to-day job that you will get when you'll come into IT, right? So by simple terms, right, that IT is a problem solving kind of a area, right, where you use computers, or let's say you use logics on computers to solve that problem, right? Now this problem can be as simple as, let's say, mapping out your, let's say, route for your Amazon delivery. So your Amazon comes from a delivery warehouse, right? And from that there is a agent which takes up your parcel and comes to your home, right? In certain cases it is international parcel also, so it might have to, let's say, go through a shipment or a cargo. It might come up and then it might come to your city. First of all your country, then your city, and then from that it's a hub and spoke model, right? So as simple as this problem also, right, this is being solved using computer logics, right? Now why computer logics? Two things: because computers are fast, right? They are pretty much faster as compared to a human. If I give you, let's say, some multiplication questions of, let's say, 4 or 5 length, right, it would take much time for you as compared to computers. Exception, except certain people. I know some of you will have some people's name in the mind where you'll say these are superhumans, but yeah, except those people, I think computers will always win. And similarly, now we are trending towards much more intelligent era where we have machine learning, deep learning, and we have quantum computing, where things are becoming much more faster, right, and much more efficient. The second reason why we use IT is, first of all, it is fast. Second, it is error prone also, right? Very less chances of error occurring are there in when you use computers over there, right? Simple example again, right? Let's say if there is a conveyor belt, right? There is a conveyor belt and there are two products which are going on that conveyor belt, product A and product B. And as a human, you have to, let's say, segregate those product A and B. Obviously, out of 100, right, you'll miss some of them. You'll put product A into B and B into A, or sometimes you'll miss them also. But a computer has very less chances, right? Or a mechanical thing which is controlled using a logic on computer, right? That has very less chances of doing that error. And third, because computers are never tired. Humans are, but computers are not, right? Computers can work for 27/4. They can work for you, whereas humans cannot. That's why we are using. Now, when I see said these three terms, right, does it mean that am I trying to eliminate humans from the working area? No. I'm trying to say that humans can become much more efficient, right? They can become much more productive if they take the help of IT over there. So that's what IT is, right? Now, I gave you some non-traditional examples, right? You might be thinking that IT is like making websites, or let's say making games or making apps. No, IT is a very big field, right? Right from banking, fintech to making applications, websites, games, machine learning, deep learning, quantum computing. It's a lot of things that you can do in IT, right? It's not just those making website or making app kind of a work over there. First, I think debunk for you. Right, and we'll talk about more. We'll talk about more that what are the areas in Python sorry, what are the areas in IT that can open up for you if you are working in Python over there. Now, I'll give you some introduction about Python. So, there is this guy in 1991. His name is Guido von Rossum, GVR, right? And at that time, there are not many options of programming languages, right? Now, what is a programming language? Let's talk about that also. Programming language means any way to communicate through a system, right? Or a computer system, that is called as a programming language. Like how humans, like I am interacting with you using a communication language called English, right? There is a language, or let's say a communication language for you to also learn, because you're communicating to the computer systems. Now, computer systems, they understand zeros and ones, right? But we humans are very bad with zeros and ones, right? We are very vocal. So what happened is that, let's say, so computer scientists, they said that, okay, we'll make computers a little bit more smarter, right? Rather than typing 0 and 1, 0 and 1, 0 and 1, we will, let's say, make something which is not English, but not even 0 and 1. So something in the middle, right? So that computers can also understand and humans can also understand. So this is called as programming language, where you will write your logic that you want, right? You want the logic that, okay, I leave my home at 9 a.m. in the morning, so all my electronic equipment should shut down. Like a very simple logic. I'm giving a very simple example, right? But let's say you can make it more complex. Let's say if this is a banking, right? You can make sure that, let's say, if somebody is spending more than $10,000 on a credit card, right? You can, let's say, initiate an email of warning, or let's say you can block that transaction because it is not following the regular pattern. So all those kinds of logic, right? You can write inside the programming language, and you can ask computer to do all these, perform these operations based on those logics over there. Now, so Guido, let's come back to the Python story. So Guido von Rossum, this fantastic guy, he is in his college in 1990s, and he's having problem in porting some of his programming language from one computer to another. So he said that I want to make a programming language which is cross-platform, right? Or cross-system. It means that it can work on this laptop also. That, I mean, that time there were no laptops, but let's say, and that system also, at system A, system B, it can work on any system. It should not be dependent on the system. And we're talking about 1990s, right? Where hardware is very much typical, right? Where softwares, they only work for a typical model, right? They're not portable. They cannot work on other. So he said that I'm going to make a language which is going to, let's say, inherit all the powers of these bigger programming languages, but it will be also portable and cross-platform. And there he started building as his, let's say, college project, and he started building something called as a programming language. Now, the name also comes from a very fancy stories there. He used to watch a lot of this. There was a show, a British sitcom called as the Monty Python's Circus. That's the name of the sitcom over there, if I'm not wrong. Monty Python Circus, yes. So, so he liked this word Python over there, and he took it. So this started as a college project, and in 1992, he finally released this Python for everyone in the world. Now, most of you might have a thinking that Python is very new because we've heard this name now only. We have always heard of Java or C or C++, right? One good thing is that Java and Python are almost similar in tenure, right? It's not that Java is way old or Python is new. No, they're almost, actually Python is older as compared to Java. If you see in terms of the release date, right? Python has a longer tenure as compared to Python. Python has a longer tenure as compared to Java over there. Sorry. So this story starts from there, and it starts with, let's say, solving a lot of problems. So Python in itself is written on, let's say, C language, right? The base is the C language, but the main intention of Python is to, first of all, make it cross-platform. Cross-platform means that now you can, let's say, make a program on your particular system. You can take that program and it will run on your friend's laptop also, on a cloud instance also, and on my laptop also. It is a Mac or a Linux or Windows. It will work everywhere, right? Wherever Python is supported, it will work over there. So it's a cross-platform language over there. The second thing that everybody wanted to, actually what everybody liked about Python, the second most important thing is, and I think this is why we teach Python so early also, is the syntax. The syntax is so English kind, right? It's so vocal that hardly people think that we are either saying something or we are writing the code in Python, right? As compared to other languages, right? It is not very computerish, what people call it. It is more syntactically closer to humans over there. That's the second most advantage of Python over everywhere. And that is why Python is one of the most early taught languages. Now in India also, but in US, they have already taken this up. MIT made a program called Scratch for kids who are, I think, above 8 for them. And it was in Python only, right? That program used to teach Python in Python only. So because Python has the most easiest syntax. And I heard from my niece also that now they're teaching in high school also Python as a programming language. So this is why Python, I think, is the most fundamental block of, let's say, if somebody starting in their career in IT. Now, because I said it is syntactically easy and that kids are being taught, does it mean that this is a very childish thing and I should not learn some of? So that is why Python is one of the best choices, because of its interoperability, right? That it can merge almost everywhere. And the fourth point, which I want to tell you before we deep dive further, is the open source, right? Or the FOSS, free and open source software. Now, open source means that anybody can come, edit the Python and can propose some changes for good, right? So there's a foundation called PEP, right? That PEP foundation, now it is called PSP now, actually, sorry, PSF, Python Software Foundation. PSF Foundation actually, they call out for everybody in the world. You and me, we both, let's say, can go and propose some changes. They'll review those changes. You'll tell them the code and they can, let's say, accept. If they accept those changes in the newer version of the Python, you will see your changes also. So what happens is, when something is open source, right, there are feedbacks which are coming from all the places. Multiple people are now coming and they're trying to contribute to that language. So it becomes more stronger. That's the open source thing. Now, because it is open source, there are so many third-party ecosystem are also developed. Now, what is third-party ecosystem? See, Python in itself cannot give you everything. Like, I'll take one example, that Python has a good mathematical, let's say, package, right, already there. But if you want to do some advanced mathematics, right, that is not present in NumPy, in Python. So what happened is, a bunch of people, they stood up and they said that Python is very good, but it lacks the advanced mathematics. So what we'll do is we'll build it up for you. And they made a third-party package which will support Python. And now advanced Python is also a part of, advanced mathematics is also a part of Python over there. Similarly, there are some more than 80,000 right now packages in the world which are made by third-party people, where they are saying that, see, because Python lacks this thing, we have made this thing for Python, right? So third-party packages are those packages which you and me can use, again, can use it not freely. I'm not saying that every package is free, but majority of them are free and open source for you to use. Like NumPy is one of them, Pandas is one of them for, let's say, external file reading. Matplotlib is there for you to plot graphs over there, right? If you want to scrape something, right? Let's say if you want to scrape something from the internet, right? Beautiful Soup is there. If you want to run some Twitter APIs, TweetPy is there, right? So there are multiple third-party packages which win. So the major four things are there, that is why we chose Python over any other language, right? I'll take a pause over here, and if you have any questions, please fire up those questions. But before even starting about Python, right, I wanted to give you that these are the four main reasons that why, if you want to make a career, Python is the best option as compared to other Java, C, C++. Any questions? No? Then very good. We'll move to the introduction of Python over there now. Now, if I read this thing, right, very carefully, it says that Python is an object-oriented high-level programming language with integrated dynamic semantics used to cater a lot of domains. Now, a lot of fancy words are here, right? I know most of you won't understand these things, but let me break it out for you slowly, right? So let's say what is first of all called as object-oriented programming language. See, when you'll come to programming language, there are two types of programming languages, right? One is called as the functional way of writing, or the scripting, right? Well, let's say if you want to automate a quick task, that let's say make me the backup every day and then delete the backup after 7 days, a very simple task, that is called a scripting way of writing things. But let's say if you're writing a very big application like Netflix. If you're building a Netflix or if you're building a Google, right, you won't write it in a script way. You will arrange everything into an Lego kind of a system, right? You'll make base platform, and then on top of it, you'll start building on top of it, right? That is something called as object-oriented programming language. We can talk about more into this detail, right? But I don't want to go into details. I just want to tell you what the idea is. So this is a object-oriented programming language. Now, some of you, those of you who know, I have heard about Python, might say that some people are saying that in some literature you might read that Python is not a object-oriented language, but Java and C++ are, which is actually false. Python is also a object-oriented language. The only difference between both of them is, let's say on the right-hand side, you have your Java and C++, and on the right-hand side, if you have Python, the only thing is that all of them are object-oriented, but the default nature of Java and C++ is object-oriented. Right? By default, they will work in the OOPS model. We call it as OOPS, OOP, object-oriented programming language. So they'll work in the OOPS model, whereas in Python, the default nature is a scripting nature. But if you want to go and make an object-oriented language, yes, definitely you can go and make up that model. Nobody's stopping you. So at certain places, you might read this thing that it is not object-oriented. No, that is totally false statement. Python is an object-oriented language. Second thing is written over there, high-level programming language. Now, what is this high-level programming language? It means, see, the lower-level programming language, does it have to do anything about the quality of the language? No, it's not the quality. It is how closer it is to human versus how closer it is to computers, right? I told you, right? Computers are very 0 and 1 kind of a thing, right? Then you have assembly language. Then you have your high-level languages over there. It means which are closer to humans, right? Whereas a low-level language is something which is closer to a computer, right? Like assembly languages. So Python is a object-oriented language, high-level programming language with integrated dynamic semantics. Now, what is integrated dynamic semantics? So I'll break it down for you. Rather than saying dynamic semantics, right, I will say that this is like, see, when you go in Java and in C++, right, there's something called as when you're assigning something, right, you have to make a variable. Let's say you have to store something. Let's say you have to store a value of 5 somewhere. So you have to store it inside a variable. Now that variable you have to define statically somewhere, first of all, in Java, and then you can use it. Whereas in Python, right, on the fly, you can dynamically, let's say, define a variable and then can store the value inside it. That's what it is, right? And to cater a lot of domains. Domains, I told you, right, that it is not just making websites, it can make games also, data science also, and other things. World's #1 programming language. This claim comes based on the Stack Overflow survey, right? That how many questions are asked on Stack Overflow, based on that it is coming, or it is coming from other GitHub resources, that how many languages are there. We'll talk about what is GitHub and Stack Overflow in the coming slides over there. Now, some Python facts for you, that Firefox has some around 230,000 lines written in Python itself. Microsoft promotes Python development with its IDE called Microsoft Visual Studio. Netflix shares that they make intensive use of Python for data sciences. Uber says it is using Jupyter Notebook and IPython to share their data. So what is the purpose of this slide is to tell you is that, see, it might be the language which is most syntactically easy, but it is used by one of the most complex tech companies to solve complex problems also, right? So don't take Python lightly. It is solving a lot of things. And it also gives you an idea that, see, Python has been used at multiple places. I can give you more examples, right? YouTube is one of the biggest examples. Instagram is one of the biggest examples, which is almost written in Python, right? Then you have BitTorrent. If you remember, those of you have some experience, they might know what is BitTorrent. It was completely written in Python over there. Now, let's talk about who is a Python developer, right? So I told you, irrespective of Python, right, who is a developer? A developer is somebody who is solving a problem, but he or she is solving the problem using these programming languages, right? So if I read this statement, it says that Python developers write programs and codes to create application, perform testing, and debug programs as well. And I would add something over here, to solve a problem. Everything in your coding is done to solve a problem. Remember this thing, right? So whenever I'm saying you'll become a coding expert, right, you'll also become a problem solver, right? you will be solving problems day and out, left and right, you'll be solving problems only, right? So let's read about what this says again. See, first of all, you will be writing the code. That's the first job, right? You will be writing the code, but you will not just be writing the code to create the applications, but you will be testing it also. See, if you have written the code, you have to test it also, and then debug the programs as well. Now, because you have written the code, even you have tested, right? But not today, but tomorrow it is apt to be failed, right? Some of the other things will change. Either the external environment will change, or it might happen that now the infrastructure has changed, something or other will change, and your program might fail also. So debugging is also one of the key factors out of the three that you are responsible for, right? So writing code, testing, and then debugging. As you can see over here, integration of data source methods and solutions, implementing data protection, security protocols. These are the some of the job roles of a Python developer, in which field you can go, right? Now, don't read this slide, right? I'll help you. I'll help you, and I'll tell you, see, how I started my journey. So I heard about Python way back, but I heard it from one of my friend who was doing this, who was a licensed penetration tester. Who is a LPT? LPT is somebody who's like a hacker, but a legal hacker who works for companies to find loopholes in their security methods. And he told me that he does all these things into Python. I said, okay, Python. And I used to work for some language called as X++, way older times. And then I got into hardware somehow. So hardware means that I started working for IoT. And Raspberry Pi is something which is there. Raspberry Pi is what it is, just let's say a kind of a computer which is almost as small as your hand, right? So all these smart TVs, smart fridges, smart cameras, all these smart fans, and all these things have, let's say, a small computer inside them, right? Through which they are transferring, they are, let's say, converting all their data into numerical numbers, right? Or let's say into bytes, and then they are transferring it to either cloud or your local, through your local Wi-Fi, they're transferring to your systems, right? Now, I was working for them, and I came to know that Raspberry Pi has Python pre-installed, and Python was one of the prerequisites to, let's say, go for Raspberry Pi. So then that was the first time when I started learning that, okay, Python has multiple domains. So I'll tell you why I used then Python. I used for IoT first of all. Then I learned about web development. So Python, through Python, you can also make websites. So what did I learn? First of all, not I, but let's say my friend told me he's doing hacking kind of stuff with Python. Then hardware is also there, right? All these IoT devices, right? All these things are majorly written in Python. Then I started doing web development using web framework called as Django, Flask, Cherry. Don't get overwhelmed, right? I'm just giving you some names so that you can correlate themselves later. And then I switched to machine learning, data science, or data science or deep learning, whatever you want to call them, right? But when I was doing web development, I saw that I was doing my own coding also, but I saw there is a separate team of QA also, those who will, let's say, do some manual testing, and then they will also do some automation testing. So an automation engineer would write their automation scripts inside Python only, right? And then web development, I don't think I need to say anything about this, right? This is the hottest field, and people are making majority of the games are either in C++ or C or Python over there, right? And data science, I think data science is completely ruled by Python itself, right? So if I give an example right now, Facebook and Google, they both have their own machine learning libraries, right? So Google has something called as TensorFlow, and Facebook has something called as PyTorch. Both these frameworks are written in Python. This is one of the I mean, you can now expect how deeply Python is inside the data science ecosystem. Now we talked about what is Python and how can you get into, let's say, how it is, let's say, deep inside this ecosystem. But how do I become a Python expert, right? How do I become a Python expert? Is there something required to become a Python expert? Yes, as I told you, problem solving approach. Now, what is problem solving? First of all, say problem solving is an attitude towards solving a problem where you are not required to get the answer, but how you're approaching a problem, that is what is required, right? And it's not just that you will, so most of you might be confused now that are we in a psychology class or a computer science class? No, you are in a computer science class only, and they'll teach you a lot of these things in data structures also, right? And data algorithms also. But just to give you an idea, right, the most shortest and the most optimal path that you can take to solve a problem, that is called as problem solving, right? everybody can solve the problem, but the one who solves it in the least time and in the most optimized manner, that is somebody who's called as a software engineer. Goal-based approach means that, see, there are two types of goals in programming always, right? One is the short-term goal and one is a long-term goal, right? So whenever you write a code, right, you have to always make sure that what is your end objective that you want to reach, right? It might happen that you might think that, yeah, I have to just write the simple logic of 2 + 2 = 4. But what is the impact that is going to generate, right? For a short term and a longer term, all these things you have to keep in your mind. But what is the real thing that I want? Okay, I understand that, okay, problem solving approach and all this goal based approach. But what is the real thing which I require? See, the first thing is pseudo coding capability. Now, what is pseudo coding capability? You don't know how to write the code, but you know how to solve a problem. So you can write the logic of it, right? I'll give you a very simple, let's say, example, and you don't need to give me the answer right now, but let's say, let me ask you a question. Let's say if there is a particular list over here, right, which contains 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there is another list, right, which contains the same number and somebody copy pasted it, but unintentionally, right, one of the digit was changed. One of the digit was changed unintentionally. Now you have to tell me that what is that particular, let's say, digit which was manipulated or which was edited over there. No need to give me the answer now, but just think about it. And also, please don't think that it will be always 1, 2, 3, 4. It can be anything. I'm just giving you an example, right? And currently it is of 4 items only. It can be of 10 items, 20 items also. So think of a solution. Don't think of a static solution. Think of a dynamic solution where if I change the number of elements or if I change the elements itself, right, your solution is still applicable, right? And then the next one is version controlling. What is version controlling now? See, whenever you will write the code, right, it's not just you who is writing the code. There will be multiple people with you who in your team, they will be writing code with you, right? So how do you make sure that your code is not overridden by your friend's code or your friend's code is not overridden by your code, right? That is called as version controlling. It means for every line of code that you're writing, right, or every change that you're doing, there's a version that is maintained. So when you write the code, the version changes to version 2. Then your friends write version 3, version 4, version 5. And then you have to merge them together also. That is called as version controlling. So that you can work in a collaborative environment. Then you have, as I told you, collaborative environment, which brings us to our fifth point, which is the team working availability. See, many of your friends might say to you that software engineering is a IC role. IC role means individual contributor role, but the answer is no. Software engineering is all about solving problem together, right? Solving problem together. So it's not you in your own team that who will be writing all the code, right? There will be always team discussions. You will have your teams, you will have your sprints, right? So you need to work, you need to know how to work with multiple people. See, again, I know most of you might be thinking that what is this happening, right? I was expecting software engineering about, about other things, but what is happening over here? What is goal-based approach? What is this problem solving? What is team abilities? See, these are the key essential things which are required, right? Anybody can learn how to code, right? But a serious software developer is somebody who understands why you are doing something, right? And how you need to do that thing. Out of the box thinking, I think this is required everywhere. Which is I don't think which is separate over there. What is the size of one of our friends is asking, what is the size of a data science team in an organization? So it depends what kind of a use case you are solving, right? I'll tell you, I am right now working for a real estate client in Middle East, and we are making a portfolio building for them, that how can they scale up their business and how can they bring the real estate market using data science, right? Understanding data, that what should be the pricing of the properties and how to scale them up. So there I have a team of only, let's say, 10 people, right? I work with 10 other data scientists, and that's all. Whereas if you talk about a company like Google or Microsoft or Amazon, right, I think on each team, on a product level, they might have 200 or 300 data scientists, but at, let's say, at each team level, they might have different numbers. So it might happen, let's say, that Gmail, that in a whole, Google might have some tens, thousands of data scientists, but on Gmail, they might have 1,000. And then particularly on Gmail, let's say if you talk about the compose section, where you write the email, there you might have 10 to 20 data scientists over there. But yeah, it depends on industry to industry in which you are, right? And based on that, it will depend. How Python helps in building the culture, as I told you, why learn Python? Python syntactically very easy, and it gives you a good entry point also, right? Because majority of the tech companies are using Python, so it becomes much easier for you to communicate with these companies also, because they're also talking Python. You will also talk Python over there. Also, because if you see, right, this is the traffic of let's say future program. This is like the number of queries that you have, right? See, this is the percentage of overall questions viewed every month on, if I'm not wrong, this is Stack Overflow, and you can see other colored languages like C++, PHP, C Sharp, Java, JavaScript, and Python. Python has grown. See over here from this. This is the one. I don't know if you can see or not, but I'll draw it for you. Python has one of this graphs over here. This one. And then the projection says that this will go like this, right? So you can see every language is almost, let's say, saturated. But if you see only, let's say, what? No, I think everybody is desaturating. See, C plus C sharp is actually declining. If you see C++ is declining, PHP is almost consistent, right? Almost saturate. JavaScript picked up, but it is now also saturated. It's only Python which is going up. So Python has a huge market and a huge potential market and an untapped market also. And this is again one of the graphs that you can see for. This is the Google Trends graph, where you can go and write down the words and that how this term was searched, how many times this term was searched, and based on that they'll give a score to it. So you can see over here, there's the yellow one is the JavaScript, very low. Red is the Java. It started very high. See, it started very high, but then it eventually dropped. And Java, and Python, the blue one, started slow, but then now it's going up, as you can see, right? As I told you, there are multiple third-party applications, which are third-party packages, which are there that you can use with Python over there. Django, I took this name also, right? This is one of the web frameworks that you can use to make websites. It is there in the field of AI. It is there in the field of data science. It is there in the field of data engineering also. Apache Spark is one of the distribution engines, multi-cluster distribution engines that you can use to store data, right? The Python advantage, because it is the number one language for a reason over there, right? Question and answer. This is what I had. How about Golang? Very good question. So see, whenever you choose a programming language, my friend, right? I would not say that Golang is bad, and probably I'll tell you that I personally work on Golang over there. So currently my stack is Python, Golang, Scala, and Julia. 4 things that I know probably. I used to know, I mean, I have not forgotten, but C++ also. I started my career with C++. So, but I don't do a lot of those things now, C++. So whenever you choose a programming language, right, first of all, look around that in what areas is Golang used, right? If you want to make websites, are websites made in Golang, right? That's the first thing that you should know. Whatever area in which you are going, right, first of all, figure out that is that language is that language prominently used over there or not? That's my first advice to you. Second advice is that you learn any language, right? Ultimately, you need to learn the concept, right? But again, if you want to learn the concept, why not learn with that language which is easy to learn and also can be used at multiple areas? That is my only 2 cents to you. There are multiple libraries. Do we need to learn all of them? No. So do I know all the libraries of Python? No, I don't know anything about, let's say, hacking. If you ask me, right, that what is the best language to do some penetration testing, I would have no answer to you. But if you ask me about data science, if you ask me about how to build an application, or if you ask me how to maintain APIs, right, security, I can tell you. But other areas, so again, to your answer, no, you don't need to learn all the libraries. No. Whatever your domain is to build applications, you should know how to build applications, right? That too, when you will go in building applications, right, there will be multiple libraries. Like, let's say, to build a web framework, Django is there, Flask is there, Fast API is there, Cherry is there, Bottle is there. So do I know all these things? No, but I know the top 3. I know Fast API, I know Django, and I know Flask. That's it. Do I know Bottle and Cherry? No. But can I ramp up? Yes, I can ramp up very easily because I know the base concept of. How will be the interview level? It depends on what is the JD over there, right? If it is the entry level, they'll ask you entry level questions. My first interview, I'll tell you, this gentleman is there and he's asking me, what language do you know? And before I could say the answer, he asked me that, do you know Python? And I was scared. I said, no, I know C++. And he said that, have you ever heard of Python? I said, yeah, I have heard it somewhere, but I have not worked on. And seriously, interviews are less about languages, more about the concept. So nobody's going to ask you that write a write, let's say, tell me what is the Python syntax. They will not ask you that, tell me the for loop syntax. No, right? But yes, definitely, if you write it wrong, then you will have a wrong impression. Because if somebody who's coming for an interview and saying that I know Python, they should at least know what is the syntax of for loop. Correct? Python has, we have a lot of resources if you want to get started. Our blogs are there, Intellipaat blogs are there, Intellipaat YouTube channel is there that you can go. We have huge amount of library over there where you can go and watch these videos, right? And if you want to understand better, right, I think one of my friend Satish will come up and he will help you understand. He's a career counselor. He'll help you understand that how you can navigate your path in IT now going forward, and how can we help you in your journey of IT over there.
Hi, I'm Tejasvi here. Satish should not be taking up this session. I'll be taking for the next. So I hope I'm audible and my screen is as visible as well, right? I'll just take them to the different programs that we offer and how exactly this is going to help them out. So as for the session, for the webinar that you had about Python, I'll first take you all through the Python course that we offer. As everybody in the session is already aware about how important it is to learn Python, as it's one of the prominent programming language in the market. So we cover a complete end-to-end Python course, okay, further from the beginning level to the complete advanced level of Python. So even the learners who don't have any prior programming knowledge can still go ahead and take up these courses, which would help them to kickstart with their programming languages. So here Python, if you guys can see on my screen, the Python certification program content is very well designed. Okay, it's going to be from the basics, as I mentioned, and every module will have the hands-on and exercises part that would also give you the real-time knowledge, not just the conceptual program. So not just the Python course, every program that Intellipaat offers is designed in a way where you get maximum industry exposure, not just learning the concepts from the trainers. And in fact, all these classes from the Intellipaat has been delivered by the industry experts with more than around 13 to 14 years of industry exposure. And from the last 5 to 7 years, they've been working into the respective domain. And this is what the Python course is. So this takes approximately a couple of months for you to go ahead and learn the complete course of Python, okay, from the basics. So 42 hours of live classes will be delivered. The class timings are scheduled on every Saturday and Sunday. That's from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. as per the IST. And we also have a weekday batches that is Tuesday to Friday mornings, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Okay. So that is about the batch timing. So 2 months it would take for the learners to start. This is, I would say, the initial step towards learning Python. And this would also give you the complete exposure of how, Python can be implemented into various technologies. As for the session that you guys had, Python can be used into the web development, the Django. We have a lot of usage of this Python programming, but most familiar courses I would just take you through. I would say something, which has, good response or good success rate of placements. So one is, I believe everybody in the session are aware about how Python is implemented in data science and machine learning. So we have come up with this program, which is PGP in data science and machine learning, which is a 100% job guarantee program. So this is around 6 months of course from a world's #1 institute, okay, which is MIT. Okay, so this course, the certificate is a MicroMaster's certification from MIT. So MIT is, I believe everybody is aware, it's a world's #1 university from so many years. So it's 6 months of live classes for these curriculums will be provided. So even here, Python is very important. As I mentioned, Python is a basic step for you to go out and make your career into any technology. And especially, let's say in the session, if there are learners who are coming from a non-technical domain, if they wanted to go out and make a successful career transition to data science or machine learning, this would be the right program. Okay. It's going to start from the preparatory sessions, which means it's going to start from the basics. Then we move on to the Python and Linux. Then we come to the SQL part, machine learning, okay, then the Python libraries, machine learning algorithms, then MLOps, which is your deployment part, and data visualization with Power BI, which is your BI tool, and a capstone project. Trust me, this is one of the best course, okay, that you guys can actually kickstart with. And here we cover the Python. You don't require to go and take Python separately and come to this. This course will give you the Python from the basics, and 6 months of live classes from the industry experts will be delivered. And you guys can also see on the screen, it's a 100% job guarantee with minimum of 5 to 6 lakhs per annum. If not, the complete amount will be refunded. So you guys can see the speech program offers a 100% job guarantee within 6 months of the course completion. Else the amount that you're paying will be returned back. Okay, so not just talking about job guarantee here, I also want to stress on the exposure that you get. So you guys can see 6 months plus you will be working on 50 industry projects and case studies, which is equivalent to 1 year of relevant work experience that a data scientist would carry upon working these projects and case studies. Okay, and it's you would be getting e-learning videos from the MIT faculty. So you're going to get for all these concepts the MIT video recordings as well, and integrated with MIT MicroMasters. So certificate, this is how your certificate would look like. MIT MicroMasters certificate. Okay, so your particular name, statistics and data science. So this is how your MIT certificate would look like. Okay. So, and the postgraduate certificate will be given to you from Intellipaat in data science and machine learning. So someone, let's say, who wanted to make a career towards data science with something, assurance on the job part, can definitely inquire with us for this program. And not just on the job guarantee, also consider about doing it from the world's #1 university of MIT X MicroMasters. So this is one of the program. All the key benefits of Intellipaat remains the same. It could be about 24/7 technical support, who would always be available in terms of assisting all the learners for their technical related queries, whatever might be the time zone you are in. Let's say you're working through your projects or case studies, you require certain assistance. We have a 24/7 functional technical team who are technical experts who can actually take a one-on-one sessions for you. And also, every course of Intellipaat comes with 100% job assistance, which actually starts from profile building, like where your resume, LinkedIn profiles are going to be updated. You will have, mock interviews, one-to-one career mentoring sessions, and your profile will be marketed to the different types that we have. Plus, it also comes with a soft skills essential training. Okay, so this is about one of the courses that I wanted to introduce in the session, which might be helpful for the learners who are planning for a career towards data science. And the second program that I wanted to introduce here is the degree program. Let's say someone has a requirement of doing a master degree in data science. We have from the Germany's #1 university, which is IU, International University of Applied Sciences. This is a fully online course. You can also do a blended program. So now this course would be, mostly suitable for the learners who are planning to work in the Germany or completely shift to the Germany. Okay, this is the right program for them. In the specialization of data science, you'll have your master's degree. Okay, so this IU master's degree can either be done fully online, which means 1 year. We have both 1 year and 2 year master degree programs, which respectively comes with 60 ECTS or 120 ECTS. Okay, and it can either be fully done online, or 6 months you can do it online from India, and 6 months you can go to on campus and do it in the blended way, like online plus on campus. So the learner will be eligible for 18 months of post-study work visa, for which the complete visa assistance will be given by us. So I highlighted that point on my screen. So as I mentioned earlier, if a learner has a requirement of traveling to Germany and working there, trust me, this course is the right fit for them. Okay, this comes with a post-study work visa and in fact a dual degree from 2 universities of IU and LSPU. Okay, and rest of all the key features remains the same, like flexible scheduling. You'll have a 24/7 technical support, lifetime access to your recording. So every live class from Intellipaat, as and when it's done, it will be recorded, and you'll have the access to these recordings in the dashboard that you can refer. Okay, and the last program in the data science would be the IIT Madras, which is India's #1 institute. Okay, so this is 7 months of classes where you get a certificate from CC IIT Madras. The classes will be taken by the faculty members of IIT Madras and the industry experts as well. Okay, so that is about these details of the 3 courses. One is from MIT, the other one is your master's degree from IU, and another one is from IIT Madras. So now any of you here would require a career counseling, can directly come and give your details on the website, or you can also take down, my number and email ID. So there is chatbot you can see on the website. You can give the details here, where you would be connected to our course advisors who can brief, the complete details based on your profile. Okay, give me a second. I'm also giving my name and email ID. So if someone requires a career counseling sessions, probably please get connected to me, so that I can actually go ahead and brief you based on your current profile, academic qualifications, which course would be suitable for you. So you guys can see my phone number and the email ID on the screen. You can either email me or call me on my number. I'm also available on the WhatsApp on the same number. Okay. So now, so the ways to reach, as I mentioned, one, you can give the details either on the chat board here, or you can just call me up on my number. And second, a lot of you here might have a doubt that, is it only for the people who have an experience in IT? No, as I mentioned, we have around 40 to 50% of the learners coming from non-technical who are doing a successful career transition to data science. Okay, so but it depends on which program you should take it up and which is the right fit for you. For which we have an active career counseling team who has an expertise of more than 9 years of counseling learners from different technologies or from different industries, which technology will be better for them. My career counseling team will go ahead and brief. So now, if someone has a questions, I would request you guys to go ahead and put it in the chat. Okay, I will go ahead and brief all your questions. Okay, so I will take up the Q&A related to the courses that we offer, and then we'll be done for today. Okay, I'll now move on to the chat. You can put all the questions in the chat. Okay, I can see, is Python in demand? Definitely, out of all the inquiries that we get, Python is very much in demand. So it's very important for someone to go out and survive in the market to learn Python. Respectively, you can either link it up to the different technologies, as I mentioned, based on your, experience. Probably you can go ahead and link it up to the technology. Definitely, Python is very much in demand as of now. Okay, I can see there are, how will be the interviews? So interviews wise, as I mentioned, Intellipaat is going to offer a complete job assistance. It could be from, I would say the profile building part. Okay. So when I say profile building part, where your resume and LinkedIn profiles initially will be updated, mentioning all the certificates and the projects that you worked through for the 6 months or 7 months of time investment that you're giving to us, we would go ahead and completely make your profile and then market it to 150 Fortune 500 companies that we tied up. And we schedule you the interviews as well with these companies. And in fact, to be more precise, Intellipaat has its own dedicated job portal. Okay. Just like how Naukri and Monster Jobs are, we have our own job portal where we have more than 400 plus hiring partner network, which are hiring the Intellipaat learners. This is dedicated to the Intellipaat learners. So even the competition is, less comparatively to other job portals because you'll only have to compete with an Intellipaat learners. So Dilip is asking me to go ahead and share my number and email ID again. I'm putting it in the chat. Or Dilip, you can also pass your number in the chat. I'll arrange a call for you. Okay, I've given the name and contact email ID over the chat. Dilip, you can also pass your number if at all you wanted a call back from our end. Okay, so next is Rupa Pavani. If we take data science and AI course, for how many months we'll be teaching with Python? Okay, so approximately 2 months, as I mentioned initially, 2 months is very much required to go ahead and invest in learning Python. And we don't rush up, as this is something where, your basics has to be taught, right? Like Python is base, as I mentioned. So approximately 2 months it will take Pavani for you to kickstart with and have a good knowledge on Python. So once you're up and running with Python, you can work out on machine learning and AI very good. So is any e-certificate regarding this webinar? Probably my support team would reach out to you on this about the certificate of attending a webinar. Okay. So as discussed again, if somebody wants any career counseling sessions, okay, can go ahead and reach out to me, okay, or give the details on the website. So Dilip, I got your details, okay. So I would go ahead and reach up to you by tomorrow, 11 o'clock, so we can have a discussion about which course would be good for you. So if there are any other questions, I'll be here active for another 2 to 3 minutes, okay. So we can have, if there are any further questions, you can put it in the chat. If not, we can, close the session for today. I don't see any more questions coming up. So, all right. Okay, it was a nice, talking to all of you. So, thank you. Good night.